There's new leadership tonight in Huber Heights. This evening, the city hosted a meet and greet with the new city management team. That includes this man here, John Russell. He is now the new city manager, taking the place of Richard Zick, who was arrested for driving while intoxicated and driving left of center back in May. Kasha Hancock was at that meet and greet tonight and spoke exclusively to the new city manager. So, Kasha, how's he feeling about his new position?
Elise, Russell tells me that although he's nervous, he's extremely honored to be chosen as the city's new manager and can't wait to lead Huber Heights in a positive direction.
Super excited, really. I mean, we've got amazing things going on in the city. We've got great economic development. We've got, just an entertainment district that we're trying to really fill out and expand upon.
John Russell, new city manager of Huber Heights, tells me as a resident of the city since 1984, he's proud to give back to a community he loves. And leaders from other local cities say having Russell officially take this position was a no-brainer.
Overall, myself and several council members have always been a very strong supporter of John. So when it comes to really, accountability, structure, all those things are really what we were looking for to bring that structure and accountability into the city.
Russell was a top pick for the position 2 years ago. City Council has even trusted Russell to build his own city management team featuring Aaron Sorrell and Alex Zaharoff.
So Aaron was here as a planner. I just kind of elevated him from planning to assistant city manager. And then Alex is coming to us he recently retired from Beaver Creek.
Already, the team has made exciting strides in the city with a new pub and music venue coming to the city of Huber Heights.
We got called up here to take a look at some property, and we fell in love with Spot by the Rose. So we are going to be opening up another place. It's going to be called Dublin 7.
Russell adding he knows his previous experience as an administrative battalion chief will help him be successful as the new city manager.
It's just about trying to lead people and to be, for an example, just to be the head ball coach, of a team. And honestly, putting those players in the right position to be able to affect the things that need to be, that's really my role.
Huber Heights Mayor Jeff Gore also tells me he believes Russell will bring a teamwork mentality to the city, which will allow them to accomplish more things for its citizens. Back to you.
A major update tonight from Trotwood. The body of a man who was last seen swimming in Madison Lakes Park has been recovered. Eli Burgett spoke to the man's friends who were there when it happened. He explains what they're calling for tonight.
Well, as you mentioned earlier this afternoon, search crews were able to find the body of that missing swimmer that went missing at Madison Lakes, 19-year-old Luis Fernando Montes Padilla Andarano. We were able to speak with his friends that were with him when he went missing, and we also caught up with the Trotwood Fire Department, and they walked us through how this went from a search and rescue to a recovery.
Today, the operation changed to a recovery where we have a boat go out in the morning, we have a boat go out in the evening, and what we're looking for is exactly what we found.
Trotwood FD says that 2 deputies were searching the area where the body of Luis first went missing, and they found him floating along the shore. Witnesses who reported Luis going missing told us that they were casually swimming in the lake, and suddenly he was nowhere to be found.
I would not come here. If I knew how many people have passed away here because of how bad this water is, I would have never came here.
They also question why it took the authorities so long to locate the body of Luis, and they also say that the lake should be shut down because it is unsafe. At this time, the Trotwood Fire Department is going to pass this case off to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and they also want to heavily stress that Madison Lake is not safe under any circumstances for people to swim in. Back to you.
We have new details tonight on an officer-involved shooting that happened Friday at the DeSoto Bass apartment complex. Lydia Bice spoke with the Dayton police chief and shares how it all began.
A 911 call came in around 11:36 p.m. on Friday with the caller saying that his grandson had been shot and that the suspect was wearing red and black clothing. Now, when Dayton police officers arrived on scene, they rounded the corner of that apartment complex and found the suspect when that individual then pointed his gun at them.
This is Eric Grady, 45 years of age. We're showing you this because he's been charged 4 charges of weapons under disability.
This incident on August 23rd marks the 4th officer-involved shooting so far in 2024, the others taking place on January 8th, June 29th and August 11th. Grady, the suspect in this case, was expected to be released from the Miami Valley Hospital today and then was going to be brought to the Montgomery County Jail. Now, Chief Offsall told us today that the DeSoto Bass apartment complex where this shooting took place is definitely a location that his department keeps an eye on because they've had several critical incidents there in the past. Back to you.
We're also hearing the very latest tonight from Dayton police about the tragic death of 12-year-old Isabella Amor Carlos, who was killed after shots were fired into her home on Friday morning.
Our guys are running on fumes, and they've been following up on leads all weekend from the homicide perspective.
Now, Chief Afzal also said that there will be no good news, of course, since the innocent child lost her life, but they are hoping to have an update with the suspect information as soon as possible. If you know anything about the case, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers at 937-222-STOP. And remember, you can remain anonymous. The victim of a suspicious death in Beaver Creek last week has been identified tonight. Beaver Creek police telling us 55-year-old Michael Corrigan died from an apparent gunshot wound from around 9 p.m. on Thursday in the 1800 block of Maple Lane. Ohio BCI is helping collect and process evidence. Captain Scott Molnar says that the investigation is ongoing and that there is no threat to the community. And tonight, if you do have any information, you're asked to call the number here on your screen for Detective John Bondi at 937-427-5520. The former Kettering City Schools choir director arrested on child pornography charges has pleaded guilty. 37-year-old Matthew Kohler is charged with 4 felony counts of pandering obscenity involving a minor. His 2 other charges have been dismissed, however. His admission makes him a sex offender. Kohler will be sentenced on October 3rd. A woman recovering tonight after a stabbing in Preble County. It happened around noon in Gratis. Sheriff Mike Simpson tells us one person is in custody and investigators believe the incident stemmed from a domestic dispute. Now, we do know the woman was flown by helicopter to Miami Valley Hospital. As soon as we get more information, we'll continue to update you on air and online at Dayton247now.com. Well, the Linden Avenue Bridge back open tonight after a police chase that ended when a truck crashed into the side of a train. On Friday, the man accused of leading police on a multi-county chase waived his right to a preliminary hearing. Jonathan Brown is facing 3 felony charges with possible additional charges pending. He's back in court tomorrow. We now know tonight one person is dead and all 3 kids in the hospital after a head-on crash. It happened last night at Frederick Pike and Rivers Edge Boulevard in Dayton. Police say the driver, a 59-year-old woman, overcorrected and hit another car head-on. Now, the driver of the other car, 35-year-old Brittany Shanks, died at the scene. The 3 kids and the driver are expected, though, to be okay. We're also learning more tonight about another deadly crash that happened on Jefferson Township. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office tonight says 2 women were hit. Both were taken to the hospital where one later died. That crash happened last night around 8 o'clock on State Route 4. Deputies tell us they believe alcohol and/or drugs played a role. The crash remains under investigation.
Well, hot weather across the Miami Valley today, making it into the 90s. More 90s on the way. Tomorrow, a heat advisory in effect. This goes into effect noon tomorrow until 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So both Tuesday and Wednesday are expected to be very hot with feels-like temperatures close to the century mark. But for right now, we're hanging out in the 70s. We got 79 in Dayton, 74 in Troy. Still pretty warm. Couple of cool spots in the upper 60s. And our dew points hanging out in the 60s and 70s. Again, some spots better than others, but for the most part, it's a pretty muggy evening, and it is going to be a muggy but quiet night. So lows dropping into the lower 70s tonight, but we do have some storms in the forecast, and of course that heat to talk about as well. So I'll time it all out for you coming up in just a bit.
If you do need a place to cool down this week, the city of Dayton is using its 3 recreation centers as cooling centers from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. through Friday. You can head on out to the Greater Dayton, Low-Ray, and even the Northwest Recreation Centers. The addresses are on your screen. Additionally, you can head on out to the city's splash pads. They are free and open every day from noon until 8. And we have all this information and those addresses in the web version of this story at Dayton247now.com. Just click on the heat advisory story. And the high heat the next couple of days affecting a lot of people, including businesses and schools. In fact, Troy City schools will be releasing students 2 hours early tomorrow and Wednesday. And the Horizon Science Academy, Dayton Elementary, will be closed tomorrow after a power outage closed the school today. Salina City schools will release 7th through 12th grade students 2 hours early tomorrow. Star students, though, will follow their regular school schedule. Rumpke Waste and Recycling is pushing up the pickup times to help keep workers out of the heat. Tomorrow through Thursday, crews will be picking up trash in residential neighborhoods early. They suggest putting your garbage and recycling out the night before. And we've posted all this information at Dayton247now.com. You can find it under that web story right there. A heads up tonight if you live near the Vandalia Center. Public Health will be spraying for mosquitoes beginning tomorrow at dusk. At this point, there's been no reports of human cases of West Nile virus. Now, there are going to be several streets that will be sprayed in that area. Signs will be placed in those specific areas. Public Health says it's safe for people and pets, and you don't need to take any extra precautions. A critical day today for Congress as their investigation into the Trump rally attempted assassination continues. What the Secret Service and FBI tells us about the recent accusations. And the race to become the 47th U.S. president is hitting some bumps in the road. What change might be made that would break debate tradition?
And quiet tonight, but summer heat continues across the Miami Valley, as well as some storms returning too. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Sports Desk is
Bipartisan lawmakers investigating the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump traveled to Butler, Pennsylvania, to see the site of the shooting firsthand. Ultra El Nashar explains what they found.
6 weeks after the attempt on former President Donald Trump's life, members of a bipartisan congressional task force are visiting the scene of the crime.
There's really no substitute for being on site, looking at the ground where all of this happened.
Butler, Pennsylvania is in Republican Congressman Mike Kelly's district. He's leading the task force and says the decision to hold the rally at the Butler Farm Show grounds never made sense to him.
I said, no, you can't do it there. That site is too small. The entry and exit is going to be difficult.
Kelly, who was at the rally, and ranking member Democratic Congressman Jason Crow say they want to know how the site was chosen, who was involved in preparation, and what information did they have? Did Secret Service have enough resources? And the question on just about everyone's mind:
why was the roof not secured? I mean, it's an obvious line of sight.
The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee is also investigating. Republican Senator Ron Johnson claims it's not moving fast enough.
The Secret Service, FBI are basically dragging their feet. They're stonewalling us. We've gotten some transcribed interviews, but the documents we request are heavily redacted.
The FBI tells us accusations like that are inaccurate and unfounded. The FBI has been working closely with our law enforcement partners to conduct a thorough investigation into the shooting. And we have followed normal procedures in the handling of the crime scene and evidence. And a Secret Service spokesperson tells us they have provided the committee with more than 1,000 pages of responsive documentation, and over the past 2 weeks have made employees available to committee staff for transcribed interviews. They add, quote, "Our desire to learn from this failure and ensure that it never happens again is unwavering, and we welcome respective oversight efforts such as those by the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee." Lawmakers investigating the shooting say their main goals are making sure this doesn't happen again and restoring Americans' trust that their candidates will be protected. On Capitol Hill, I'm Ultra El Nashar.
The classified documents case against former President Donald Trump may continue further after special counsel Jack Smith is now urging a federal appeals court to reinstate that case. Last month, a U.S. district judge threw it out, ruling Smith's appointment to the case was unconstitutional. His team argues, though, the judge's decision was conflicting with longstanding practices in the Justice Department. Even if the case is revived, there's no chance of a trial before the November presidential election.
Well, our dome of hot air is going to keep the heat around for pretty much the rest of this week. Notice it's still 87 in Chicago at this hour. This heat dome, really persistent over the central U.S. right now, will continue to keep the heat in the forecast, at least for tomorrow, the next day, and likely through Friday. So this is what we're tracking with our feels-like temperatures. Mid to upper 90s expected around the region. Feels like temperatures close to 100, definitely not out of the question. Now heading into Wednesday, we do have a chance for a few thunderstorms moving in, and that could potentially drop our temperatures a bit. This indicates lower 90s as perhaps a complex of some showers and storms enters the area. That being said, that could also bring potentially a few stronger to severe storms that we'll be tracking as well. So things are quiet right now. We have a frontal system well off to our northwest. Eventually we'll have a front seg into our region. By Wednesday, that'll increase our storm chances. So I'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit.
Tonight, the race for the presidency is hitting a speed bump. Both former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris agreed to the first presidential debate on September 10th. However, their campaigns now disagree over microphone rules. The Harris campaign now wants mics on the entire time. However, a Virginia Tech professor says their request to change the rules back to an open mic format could be an attempt at baiting the former president.
Maybe they're hoping that with the unmuted mic, it kind of creates a situation where Donald Trump goes off script, he interrupts. It maybe creates a situation where there can be some crosstalk between the candidates that can really have some sparks that fly.
Mics were muted in June's debate featuring Trump and President Joe Biden when the candidate, wasn't responding to a question, which goes against debate tradition. Now, Trump insists that he doesn't care whether the mics are on or off, but said he may not even show up for the debate. Harris's team, however, responded to that with a statement saying in part, quote, "Our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own." Today marks 3 years since a suicide bombing killed 13 American service members and more than 100 others in Afghanistan. Former President Donald Trump was at Arlington National Cemetery to pay his respects to the victims of the bombing outside of Kabul's airport. The attack happened during a chaotic withdrawal of U.S. troops from the region. A live look now from our Eco Plumber Skycam. Let's send things out to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, warm and pretty muggy evening out here. We have hot and humid weather in the forecast. So we've been talking about the heat. Feels like temperatures close to the century mark, but we also do have some storms possible as well. Now, keep in mind, Wednesday, it's not going to be all day rain, all day storms. In fact, a lot of us won't see much in the way of activity on Wednesday at all, but there is the chance for some storms to develop. And if they do, a strong to severe storms, when we have that high heat and humidity, a strong to severe storm with damaging to gusty winds can't be ruled out. So we're going to monitor that on Wednesday very closely. We also just have the heat. So mid-90s will be close to records both Tuesday and Wednesday. Even Thursday will be fairly close to a record, just a degree away Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll be pretty close. We'll see if we can get there. But we do have slightly better weather back in the forecast by this weekend. Humidity is also going to be pretty high, especially for our Wednesday and Thursday time frame. But next week's looking a lot better. I'll talk about that coming up.
An annual outing to help local homeless animals has wrapped up, but your help is still needed. Well, you can donate to make sure the Humane Society of Greater Dayton can take care of its pets. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Take Dayton 24/7 Now News
The 13th annual Four Paws Golf Classic happened today. About 165 people came out to tee off and raise money for the Humane Society of Greater Dayton. My co-anchor Adam Arrow was the MC for the event.
It seems like there's an endless need to help people and animals in our community, whether it's spay-neuter, whether it's adoption, whether it's rehabilitating them if they get injured or they're hurt. And so there's a constant need, and so we're always in need of not only funds, but also people's time. If people want to come and volunteer and help give some love to puppies, kittens, and rabbits, stop on by and check our organization out. We'd love to have you.
Now, to help the Miami Valley's oldest animal shelter, just head to hsdayton.org. There you can donate, volunteer, foster a pet, or even adopt your new best friend. An Olympic medalist visiting his alma mater to thank the fans and inspire future athletes. What this Ohio Olympian says about all the support. And you're watching Dayton 24/7 now.